Our author was Martin Luther King Jr., born in 1929 and assassinated in 1968.
Martin Luther King Jr. was named that name for Martin Luther in Atlanta, Georgia. He adopted the name Martin in honor of Martin Luther. Was baptized at 12, but he was far from the MLK that we know today. He had doubts, but later, as he grew in Christ, he found profound truths in the Bible. He earned a sociology degree before he entered seminary, and later a PhD in systematic theology. He earned a total of 5 credited degrees.
His religion was a very important part of becoming Martin Luther King we know today. Both his father and grandfather were pastors. He pastored in a church in 1954 and co-pastored with his father from 1960 until his death. He was elected president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which was a lot of his backing when it came to his nonviolent movement. What we call speeches, he would call sermons, because they were very biblical, Christian in nature, and referred to his goal as the promise and gift of God, best attained by using biblical methods.
These are some of his works. Some of the books he wrote were Strength to Love, Stride Toward Freedom, The Montgomery Story, The Trumpet of Conscience, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community, and Why We Can't Wait. Some of his speeches, his most famous speeches, he had innumerable amount of speeches. The Birth of a New Nation, Why Jesus Called a Man a Fool, I Have a Dream, and I Have Been to the Mountaintop, which was his last. He wrote to enact nonviolent social change. His Christian beliefs were a lot of backing toward what he had to say. His upbringing also influenced a lot and was probably the reason he ever became a Christian, and if it was not for his upbringing, he would have not been the MLK that we know him as. He cited biblical methods such as turning the other cheek many times, and he grew up in Alabama, where he witnessed discrimination from a young age.
His letter from Birmingham jail, this would be the rhetorical situation. He and other protesters were jailed for their nonviolent protest campaign in Birmingham, where he saw the newspaper article containing a call for unity, a piece where the clergy questioned his timing. And this caused him to be very, emotional, in where he used whatever was at hand. I think he wrote on the sides of the newspaper at first his letter defending his position and asking, well, what time is right to enact justice.
It's also important to note the form of the letter, because it mimicked the rhetoric of the Apostle Paul, who also wrote a lot of his letters from prison. They also had a lot of the same goals to establish brotherhood, as Paul was working to establish brotherhood between Gentiles and Jews. MLK was working to establish brotherhood between races.
And his awards, these were the awards he received while he was alive. Most notably, the Nobel Peace Prize for his nonviolent protests in 1964. He was also given the American Civil Liberties Medallion from the American Jewish Committee, elected as a Fellow of American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and was Times Person of the Year in 1963.
His rhetoric helped change attitudes of both black and white Americans, both of whom were often stereotyped. The text helped to encourage legislation for racial equality. He had seemingly close ties with JFK and other legislators. And in fact, a few days after his assassination, the Civil Rights Act was passed.
It's important to note that his letter from Birmingham jail was aimed toward both black and white Americans, because both had doubts concerning his nonviolent movement, or the movement to create racial equality. And today's relevance, his method of creating change has been mimicked in many places around the world today, influenced the Black consciousness movement in South Africa, as well as Albert Luthuli, who used these nonviolent methods in fighting for racial justice in South Africa. His wife, Coretta Scott King, continued to fight for civil rights until her death. And he is the only non-president to have a national holiday in his honor. Civil rights allowed for the introduction of traditionally black colleges and universities, as well as scholarships and other